What is poppin', fight fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Mystic Hour Live. And I got a very special guest here with us today. We haven't seen him in a while since his performance of the night, and one of the best performances of last year since June. He's a former WCF lightweight champion. Got to shout that out because, we got to give every accolade as much as possible to these amazing, amazing warriors. Wins over Shane Burgos, Mirsad Bektik, Ricardo Lamas, Michael Johnson. Let's bring him in. The man, number 7, featherweight, Josh Emmett. Josh, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. It's been a while since we've seen you in the cage. How's the recovery going?
Yeah, it's going a little better now. I had a lot of issues with not with the surgery, but I did ACL reconstruction. I used the patellar tendon, so I had a lot of issues with the graft site where they took the graft from. For whatever reason, I don't know if I responded different to it or I'm really not sure. I was like one of the lucky few that this rarely happens to, but my patella tendon did not heal, and I had a huge fracture in the patella in my kneecap where they actually took the bone from. So I did some stem cell procedure about 3 months ago, and I am responding well to that. So it has started to heal. I'm just a little behind where I should be.
But you're able to train a little bit. I saw you hitting some mitts the other day. You can kind of move around.
Yeah. So that's the thing. I'm still doing a lot of physical therapy. I do that 5 times a week, and then I'm either working with my strength coach, 3-4 times a week, and my boxing coach. So I can do a lot of that. And the whole thing, from hitting mitts, it came from I was just telling my coach how slow I am and all this type of stuff. And he's like, man, he had someone film us. But I feel like that's nothing. So you guys just wait. I feel like I'm at 50%.
Yeah, I saw the power and the pop. It was still there. So I'm like, oh, is he coming back next month? You look like you're going to be back in no time.
Yeah, hopefully. That's the plan. It's just a little too soon to tell kind of what's going on, but my knee is healing, and I'm hoping within these next few weeks or maybe month I can really just start to hammer the strength of the legs, the quads and hamstrings. And once I can start doing that, I think I'll take off. And then who knows? I wanted to fight in July or August, but I think it's going to be a little maybe later towards this year before I fight, realistically.
Absolutely. And what's been probably the hardest part of this recovery, especially during this pandemic time period where you can't move around too much? What has motivated you to want to get back in there in the cage?
Yeah, it's just, I've had one thing kind of set out, and that's why I got into MMA in general. When I was fighting on the regional scene, I had a few amateur fights, but I only wanted to fight in the UFC, even from the get-go. It was UFC or nothing to me. And, I had offers from other promotions, but it's the biggest and the best platform out there. And I knew it would just take a little longer to get there. And then once I got there, then obviously I have a goal, which I think most fighters that fight is to be the best on the planet in their weight class. And yeah, I want to be a world champion. And that's kind of what I'm gunning for. That's what I'm working towards. And, I'm so close, but it's just going to take me a little longer than I anticipated.
Yeah, and you're usually such a positive guy, always smiling there after a fight. Did you ever have a moment of just I don't know how much I want to put my body through this anymore?
Yeah, no, it is tough. It's and I've had a lot of injuries, and not even even in the UFC, I've had a ton, and everyone's like, oh, that guy's always injured. But I feel like I don't know what it is. I feel like I hurt myself, most of the times. Besides one fight I took, damage, and I didn't cause that. But even on the regional scene, I was always injured. I was breaking my hands and breaking things just because I was, I'm just hitting hard. And Uriah always says, he's like, oh, because he hits too damn hard. So I'm breaking my hands in practice. I'm breaking them in fights, things like that. But no, there hasn't been I've been an athlete my whole life. I've wrestled since I was a little kid. I wrestled in college. So I feel like, I don't know, I'll put my body through hell. And I say that time and time again, just to achieve greatness and achieve what I'm really working towards. But yeah, I would like to, after fighting's over, I want to, be there and not be this, like, I always say my knee is like this old crickety knee right now, but
Yeah.
I don't want to be like not being able to walk and move. And especially, brain health is important to me, and I want to be there for my family and wife and, things like that. And, yeah, I will be, but I haven't thought too much like about, how much am I willing to like endure, go through like a lot. If I get that belt, it'll all be worth it in the end. So yeah, I'm gonna keep on going. I'm starting to feel great too. Like, besides my knee bothering me, I feel like I'm dialed in with just everything finally, just with like the team. And I'm not saying just Team Alpha Male, but I'm just saying like the team behind me. I have
Yeah.
my dietitian. I work with Paulina. She's out of Perfecting Athletes. I have doctors. I have chiropractors. I have just everything that I need. I finally have it dialed in. And even though age is getting up there, I also got into the sport a lot later than most. And I
Yeah.
haven't taken damage in fights besides one fight. So I feel great. That's a good thing. Like, I feel great, but I do look at that number and I'm like, oh man, it kind of gets in my head, but it is the best I've been feeling.
Yeah, and we have guys like Jan Blachowicz, who's 37, and he won a title recently. He's been a guy who's been in the game for a long amount of time. But while you had this time off, did you take time to maybe watch some videotape, watch a lot of things with your coach? Of course, a lot of things happen within the featherweight division.
Yeah, I'm always working. So it's I'll watch some fights with my coaches, and I've always been a huge fan of the sport. So I most of the time I watch every card, unless I'm like I have some obligation where I can't pull it up on my phone or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I watch a lot of fights. I watch and just in general. I'm always working, even when I couldn't do a whole lot on my, move around, like, in a dynamic fashion or athletic fashion. Like, even when I was in a brace, I'm like just staying stagnant. I'm working a lot of head movement drills. I'm hitting my bag. I'll sit there when did some stem cell stuff and I was in a brace again. My boxing coach, Joey Rodriguez, we're working on some, yeah, just drills. So that's one thing I'm always doing. I get so bored. Like, I'm not one of those people that likes alone time, or even, I get bored as hell. And so I have to be doing something. And it's been kind of nice, even with this, I'm not training, like in practice and all that, like all the time, just focus on that. But I am doing, my schedule's packed, like every single day, but Sunday I'm doing multiple workouts and training things. And I'm working my ass off to get my knee better. So I can get back to practice. And then from there, I only need, once I'm good enough to practice and do all that type of stuff, I only need 6-8 weeks and I'll be ready to go. I know how to fight. So yeah, that's what I'm gunning for.
And I know it was a little difficult taking that Shane Burgos fight because I believe he was ranked below you in that time. And now when you come back, are you going to be a little bit more tough with the UFC into accepting a fight maybe with somebody in that top 5, top 6?
Yeah, no, that's my plan. I feel like I'm always fighting back. I'm always the underdog still, even though I'm ranked higher than these guys. I'm always the underdog, which I don't mind. A fight's a fight. Anybody can lose. But yeah, I want to move forward from here on out, and that's the thing. I want to fight someone in the top 3. I want to come back and fight somebody that it's like a huge title eliminating fight. I want to do something that's going to get me closer to the title, and yeah, so I'm not gonna fight behind me. It's funny because anytime a featherweight fights or something like that, then no matter what, they're always like, oh, he needs to fight Josh. And some of these guys aren't even ranked in the top 20. I'm like, what the hell are you? What are you talking about? But yeah, I do want to fight forward. So that's the goal.
Any specific names of anyone you're looking at? Maybe a Max Holloway. And what did you think of his performance back in January?
Yeah, it was amazing. How could you not? I think it is like the best he looked, and Cater's been on a tear lately. So I think it's just the narrative. They always have to have some type of some type of narrative. You know what I mean? And it's like everyone was saying, oh, Cater's going to be the guy to do it, and anyone can win on any given day. But it's like, yeah, Max looked great. Cater did a great job. It was a tough fight. I think even stylistically, it was a tough fight. Cater's kind of a slower starter. Max got his rhythm and his groove going early, and he never let off the pedal. So it was an awesome fight. You know, I watched that with my boxing coach. But as far as names go, really anyone. There's 6 people ranked in front of me in the world. So anyone that's going to get me closer to the title, sign me up. You know, if I could pick all day, I'll pick the champion. So whoever the champion is, hey, sign me up. That's who I want to fight, but that's not how it works. So anyone that's going to kind of not fast track me there, but with a win, get a shot.
And how do you still fare against a champion, Alexander Volkanovski? You know, he's a very tactical guy, not finishing too many people, but how do you think that fight would go?
Yeah, I think out of, you know, everyone, I think him and I match up very well. From a, you know, stylistically, we match up very well. Both come from wrestling backgrounds. He used to, you know, be a bigger guy. I think it was like 220 when he was playing rugby and stuff like that. I walk around it, you know, pretty heavy, and I feel like, you know, I'm still short. It doesn't matter if I'm fighting at flyweight, I'll still probably be short for the division. But yeah, I just feel like we're both explosive. We're both compact. Yeah, just powerful, well-rounded athletes, and I think I match up really well with him. So, like I've been saying, I think he's going to be the champion for a while. I want to get that crack at him. You know, I do, and he's a phenomenal champion. And like you said, he's undefeated in the UFC. He's on like I want to say like a 19 fight winning streak.
Yeah.
You know, but I think I match up really well against him.
Yeah, and speaking of weight, do you ever see yourself maybe one day going to lightweight in the UFC? I know you fought in lightweight outside the UFC, but could you see yourself going up, because you do say you walk around a little heavy? Would it be a little bit easier maybe for you?
Yeah, no, for sure. And you know, for West Coast Fighting, I was their lightweight champion. I had, you know, 2 titles under them, and then I was fighting. You know, I knew that when I got in the UFC, it would be on a short notice. So I was fighting at lightweight for my first 3 fights. You know, I took a fight against John Tuck in the Netherlands on a 4-day notice. That was my debut. So I hopped on a plane, flew across the world, cut weight, and beat a tough guy. That's another guy that, you know, they're like, who's this guy, Josh Emmett? He's going to get, you know, John Tuck's going to walk all over him. And I beat him. I had the compound fracture in my finger, had to hide it from the judge so I can keep fighting and get my win. And then I beat Scott Holtzman. And then my only loss was at lightweight was to Desmond Green. And that's where it was
split decision, right?
Yeah, split decision. That I still feel like I won that fight. You know, I fought him in his hometown of Buffalo. And it was a close fight, but I thought I won 2-1 for sure. But after that, my plan was always to fight at featherweight. So when I did get that loss, because I was winning, I was undefeated. I was like 11 or 12-0. I was like, I wasn't going to move down, because, you know, it's like if it's not broken, don't, you know, there's nothing to fix. So I just kept staying there. I lost that, and then I kind of reevaluated things. Then I'm grateful for that loss. You know, I truly am. I'm grateful for that loss, because if I would have won that, I would have stayed at lightweight and kept on going. But it made me really decide to go down to featherweight, what I originally always wanted to do. And then, you know, I went on a little run there, and it gave me the opportunity to, after my second fight at featherweight, my first fight, I fought Arantes and, you know, set some records there. And then I was able to fight the number 3 ranked guy in the world, Ricardo Lamas, when Jose Aldo pulled out, because they were going to fight for a title eliminating spot. And then I went and fought Lamas and won, and I was ranked 4th in the world. And then had, you know, a little minor setback, but I've been climbing my way back through injuries, through adversity, through all these type of things. And, you know, I was so close before, and I'm kind of back to where I was at the end of 2017. So, and now, like I said, I have everything dialed in, and yeah, I'm just looking forward to my return. And
Josh, how important is Team Alpha Male to you, especially in this recovery time and in your career? You have Uriah Faber over there, Danny Castillo, Holsworth, a lot of good guys who have done a lot for this sport. But what have they done for you specifically and motivate you in your career?
Yeah, it just comes with, man, I've been with the team. That's the only team I've been with. You know, I'm from Sacramento, California, so I'm fortunate and lucky that one of the best teams for the lighter weights was, you know, built here in my backyard. I think about it, you know, from time to time too, and and I don't know if I would be fighting if Uriah didn't open his gym here in Sacramento. Like I've always been a huge fan of the sport, and I was watching it before the Ultimate Fighter was mainstream. I was watching UFC pay-per-view cards when they had like a few a year, and this is back in like 99 2000 with like
Wow.
my best friend, and I always thought I could do this, and I always wanted to because I came from a wrestling background, but I I think about it. I don't think I would have traveled anywhere to go, give it a shot or go to a different team just for one, the money, like I didn't have the money where I could go travel. And it's been such a struggle, even, over a decade I've been doing this. And just in the last like few years, my wife and I have been able to do things that we've kind of always wanted to do and kind of dreamed about and things. And so yeah, I don't know if I would be fighting if Uriah didn't build his gym. But then, I have such a close relationship with my boxing coach Joey. We're always working, and Chris and Danny and all these guys. They've helped me so much over the years, and Uriah and just everyone. Like I can go on and list all my teammates. Like Andre and Anthony and like just all these guys. Like everyone's such a good group, and when you're in there, you're having a good time. And it's hard for me because I'm one of the guys that when I'm injured, like I'm going in the gym right now because I'm working with my coach. Or boxing. I'm lifting weights. I'm doing stuff like that. Other times I'll go into physical therapy, but it's hard for me to go. I don't go watch practice. That's one thing I don't do. I've never done, and I probably will never do because. But there are people that do. They still show up to practice. They're watching the practice from the sideline. Just kind of seeing things, taking notes, doing what. But I just can't stand that. That's one thing because I can't get in there and I want to like participate and practice and do things so bad. So I've learned that for myself a long time ago. It's in wrestling and stuff like that. Like I would go when I was injured, and then before you know it, I'm like, oh, I'll give it a shot, and I'm in there and I'm drilling. And then before you know, we're going live, and then I get hurt again. So I've always been that way. I will not watch practice. But I see people when I go in there and lift because I'm going in the gym every day, Monday through Saturday still. So I'll say what's up to everyone, talk to people. But I don't sit there and watch practice.
I always say I watched the UFC a little bit too late because in high school, my coach had asked me, "Hey, you should wrestle. You look good. Do you have a body for a wrestler? You can just cut a couple pounds." And I said no. About 2 years later, I entered college and I start watching the UFC, and I'm like, "Oh my God, I should have wrestled. It probably would have been the best grounding for to get into the UFC." But it's okay now. I'm on a different road.
But I
But
do feel like it is like one of the best like foundations. You know what I mean?
yeah,
You look at a lot of like previous champions, especially when it was like, you know, a while ago, and they all came from wrestling backgrounds, most of them. But now it's like, I think the next generation of MMA athletes are going to be something crazy, just because we didn't have this, like they have Pop Warner football now. You have kids and you know martial MMA and doing all the jiu-jitsu and wrestling and kickboxing. It's really insane. So in the next like 15, 20 years, it's going to be wild to watch.
was there anybody specifically that you used to watch when you were younger that I want to be just like him, and this guy is the style that I want to have?
Yeah, like my favorite fighter of all times was Tito Ortiz. He was
Ortiz.
my favorite fighter. And it's like even growing up playing like watching basketball, like in football and stuff. When you have your teams and they lose and you're so mad. Like when I was a little kid, I was like, I was so angry when my teams would lose, and that's kind of how I felt about like Tito. Like I'd be like when he lost, I'd be like, I'd be so pissed, but I was just a huge fan of the sport. I was a huge fan of Matt Hughes, Randy Couture, Liddell, but Tito was my favorite fighter.
Yeah, Tito was a great guy to watch, of course, coming up. That light heavyweight division was amazing in that time period. But
And
Josh,
it's kind of cool to think that I ran into Tito at one of these Combate shows in Tahoe,
that's
and it's
right.
my friend went up to get a picture with him, and I was kind of standing right there, and then I was like, oh, what's up, Tito? And then he's like, oh, keep it up. I've been watching you. You've been doing really well. So that's kind of crazy to come full circle too. It's like, he was my favorite fighter. And this is back, like early 2000s and stuff, and all the way up, and then I'm in this, and then, and then it's like he knows who I am. It's kind of crazy. That happened to me even with BJ Penn when I was in Rio. He was saying
Ooh.
the same type of stuff, and he was another, I was a huge fan of his, and it is kind of crazy to think about it like that.
Yeah, I know that those emotions when I watch fighters, and even in this day and age that I love, and they lose, I start doing this. My eyes start getting watery, and I'm just like, oh my God, what am I going through right now? I don't even personally know him, but I understand that feeling completely. But Josh, what's the biggest difference between Josh Emmett in 2017 and Josh Emmett in 2021?
I think I just kind of have everything, like I said before, everything's dialed in. It's to the T. Like I know, man, just everything. Like and I like everyone that I've like worked with and stuff. And I don't want to give like little like kind of like secrets that I do, that I feel like I'm performing so much better, and even just kind of, yeah, have everything dialed in, like mind coaches, things like that. Yeah, just literally everything. So it's like, and I also used to 2017, and I still have been this way. I'm just coming forward. Every fight that's been offered to me, I've said yes to. I've never turned a fight down, even if they come to me with like, "Hey, we have these two for you. Who do you want to fight?" I want to fight the bigger name guy, and I've always been that way. But moving forward now, I know it's more like a business, and that's why I do want to fight someone in front of me when I come back. Um, not rushing things. I'm always, I think that's a big thing that I used to do too. It's like when I want something so bad, it's like I don't stop until I get it, but I'm like, I'll rush into things and not make irrational decisions, but just like really not think it through. And I think now I just kind of, I know what I want, even though I knew what I want back then, but it's like, I maybe just a little more patient and just, yeah, just thinking things through and kind of evaluating things and just observing things a little bit more. But other than that, yeah, I still have the same like fire lit in me, the same hunger, like everything. Um, yeah, yeah, and I just want to do so much more. It's like as long as you're winning and doing well, and I want to become a champion. That's where you more money and things like that. So then everything that I want to do too, it just makes it a lot easier.
And how big of a role has your wife played in your career as well, and in your life? Period.
Yeah, huge, like huge, like and I say even she's like the biggest um like the best support group that I could have, and like the biggest motivator and things like that. And yeah, just she's been on this journey of mine for so long, and I felt bad for a while just because like we were living in our best friend's bedroom, I mean, and all so many people are huge like helps to the success I've had so far. Just even like my best friend and his wife, which is my wife's best friend, like when I moved back from college in 2010, they said, "Hey, why don't you just move in here so you can pursue your dream? You don't have to pay rent. You don't have to do any of that." So I'm training full time Monday through Friday. I'm working at a group home on Saturday and Sunday, 14-hour days, just so I can pursue this. But at the same time, my wife is, we're living in, our friend's room. We're living at my mom's house again. We're living in like these little studios because I have this dream, and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna get here. It's gonna all pay off in the end, and she's been along for the ride the whole time, So it's yeah, it's amazing in that sense, and even in like 2000, it was tough for me to get in the UFC. So it was like I almost got in the UFC when I was 5-0. I didn't. I almost got on the Ultimate Fighter a few times. Um, and I was so fed up with all this stuff. And then Uriah was talking to Dana, and he's like, Dana just kept saying, "Win one more fight, win one more fight." And I was fighting these guys that were, had 30 fights. I was fighting or UFC vets and stuff like that because I think my wrestling background, the team I came from, it was hard for me to get fights. And then I got to the point where I was like, man, if I don't get in, or no, let's see, it was 2016. I fought Christos Yagos. He's in the UFC again. He was in the UFC, got cut. He was making his way back. I fought him. I won, and that was going to be the one that I got to the UFC. And then Dana's like, "Hey, win one more fight to Uriah." I was like, so I got to the point right then. That was the beginning of 2016. I was like, I'm done. Like I'm done fighting. I was 9-0. And then she's the one too that said, why don't you just kind of give it till the end of the year, you know, and then we'll kind of think about it. If you don't get into the UFC by the end of the year, then we'll start thinking about things. But it's been like this long journey that I've been chasing, you know, because this dream I have, and I know I'm going to get here. And then it's, you know, it's just like a roller coaster, nonstop. Yeah. So who knows? Like even that, and that's why I was so prepared for it. Then, you know, fast forward, that was in June, like May 8th. That's this poster right here is my debut. So it's you know, I was training hard because I didn't give up and like hang him up or slack then. And then I was super prepared on a 4-day notice to go fight someone across the world and you know, just outclass them too. But yeah, she huge motivator. She's like drives me, you know what I mean? It's helps with my schedule, does everything. Like all my teammates, coaches, they know too. It's like fight week. She has everything dialed in. Like she's in there doing the laundry, doing everything. I have everything just on the table. So huge part of my success. Like I couldn't do it without her either.
That's awesome. And I noticed you guys travel a lot. Is there any specific place you want to say is your favorite place you've been to?
Man, it's hard because everything's so different. Like, but some of our favorite places so far that we've been are, you know, we loved Italy. That was awesome. We went into Rome on Christmas Eve, and then we worked our way up north all the way to Milan. And then I don't know, we've been so many places. We like Thailand, we like Italy. We like everywhere we've been, but I think so far those are our two favorite. And that's one of the things that's been tough with the pandemic too. You know, like while I'm injured and I can't travel and do all these things, I'm like, we'd be somewhere, you know, we'd be somewhere just traveling or checking out a different country if you know, if obviously if the pandemic wasn't there. So, but it's forced us just to kind of, you know, I'm just really focusing on my recovery. So we will, after I fight next, then we have a trip that we really want to do. And yeah, it's on the list.
Hopefully the world gets back to a better place and guys can go on those trips for sure. But Josh, anything you want to say to your supporters and everybody that's been watching you?
No, yeah, I just appreciate everyone's support. You know, positive support is great. You know, it's I really do appreciate it. I see a lot of things and people sending messages and stuff. It means a lot to me. And you know, I'm working my ass off to get back to the octagon and I'll be here before we know it. So I just appreciate everything. If yeah, anyone that like sponsors and everything, if anyone wants to buy some merchandise or check out the brands I support, they can go to my website at joshemmett.com. Everything's on there.
Awesome, Josh. And we hope to see you back in the octagon later on this year against a top 5 or top 3 opponent, not taking anything less. Dana White, you hear that? You heard it from him first. Thank you so much for coming on, Josh. Hopefully we'll talk again soon.
Cool. Anytime. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Appreciate it, boss. Josh Emmett, ladies and gentlemen.
You have a good one.
All right. That was Josh Emmett, guys. Thank you so much for watching and tuning in. Of course, this will be on our YouTube, our streaming websites, everywhere. We appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I got a big one for you guys next week. Hope you all tune in. Mystic Black, Darnell Giovanni, out.